Hi, my name is Ron, and welcome to Countersteer, a podcast where we try to give bite-sized chunks of automotive history. I find cars fascinating, and I hope that you would too. And with that now, let's get started on the 24 hours of Le Mans. So, picture the scene. It's nighttime, and you're racing down this long Mulsanne straight in Le Mans in 1969. Engine roaring in the dark, trees lining both sides of the road, with this massive long stretch of road going as far as you can see. All alone and excited, pushing the engine to redline, massive screaming engine behind you. This is Le Mans at night, the toughest test of endurance and precision, basically in all of motorsports. The 24 Hours of Le Mans, going into history, is one of the oldest and most prestigious endurance races in the world. Held annually near the town of Le Mans, France since 1923, it challenges teams to cover the greatest distance in a 24-hour period. Continuously. This race is not just about speed, right, of like normal races of who can be the fastest in a set amount of time, but rather it's who does the most distance. And so that means it's also about durability, efficiency, and how well the team works together, right? You're pushing for 24 hours straight. And so this pushes not only cars and drivers to the mechanical limits of the breaking points of the cars and stuff like that, but also physically, right? Of you have drivers and you need their mental fortitude and their toughness to push along for 8-hour stints or whatever, because they switch drivers. But it requires driving to be like extremely precise even in such long stretches, which is crazy. And the smallest mistake can be so costly, right? Lose seconds, and over time that adds up. And so the race today, at least, is structured into several classes. So you have the top tier prototype classes, or hypercar, which showcase this new cutting edge technology built to these regulations, which are quite specified. And then below that, right, you have GT cars, which feature basically normal road cars, which you and I would drive and see, but they're heavily modified for performance and endurance. So going on to the track itself, known as Circuit de la Sarthe, it combines not only public roads, like historically the race was on public roads in the early days, but also now a dedicated racing section. So it creates this unique hybrid that's really a very demanding environment and really tests every aspect of the drivers and the cars themselves. So the 24 Hours of Le Mans was conceived originally by, sorry for the butchering, the Automobile Club de Loust, I don't know, whatever. I'll call it the ACO. That's what they go by. But in 1923, they created it to highlight the durability and reliability of contemporary cars, which are being increasingly vital in everyday life, right? During this time in the 20s, you had things in America, at least, like the Model T and such, and you had a greater perception of cars for the average person. And so in the early years, of course, the race was dominated by European manufacturers, being a European race, really. So you had people like Bentley and Bugatti, or companies like Bentley and Bugatti, who really set early benchmarks for massive endurance and speed. Time progressing, though, into the 1960s, there was one of the most famous rivalries in Le Mans history between Ford and Ferrari. After being spurned in a takeover bid, Henry Ford II, not the first one, decided to beat Ferrari at their own game, seeing as they had been pretty dominant, right? And so this led to the development of the Ford GT40, as we all know. And so this car not only broke Ferrari's dominance that one year, but it did so amazingly, right? And it won 4 consecutive times, spanning from 1966 to 1969. And so these victories were really immortalized in the Ford versus Ferrari film, which I think is a great film and everyone should see it if you're like semi-related to cars even. And so in the subsequent decades, right, progressing from the 1960s, Le Mans saw further innovation and competition as you had companies like Porsche and Audi come into the field, and they brought their new innovations and technologies in, right? So you had things like diesel and hybrid technologies, and so this not only made the race like faster and more efficient, not faster and safer, but also made it more efficient and eco-friendly, right? Which is quite a big thing these days, especially like F1 and such. And so today, obviously, the 24 Hours of Le Mans continues to be the pinnacle of motorsport, right? Attracting top manufacturers and elite drivers. I know this year, at least, they advertise like, oh, we have so many brands like Ferrari and such, like Toyota, and like, oh, look at how cool we are, which is pretty fun. And so the race offers various classes from, LMP1 and LMP2, GT, and then the hypercar, which is hybrid powered, which is pretty cool, with like Toyota, Audi, Porsche, stuff like that. And then so I think going into more recent history, one of the most significant developments is this focus and the shift to sustainability, right? And so the race has really become a testing ground and has laid the groundwork for a lot of these green technologies like hybrid and like electric powertrains. Like currently in hypercar, I know you have those hybrid technologies of not just fully combustion like V8s and things, but also a little bit of battery power and mixing those two to form a good balance. And so this shift you can also see in F1, right? Like transitioning to hybrid power away from just like sole V10s and such. And so this shift is, it really shows this greater, broader trend in the automotive industry of, you know, electric cars and that shift away from gas and fossil fuels and things. And so this really shows how Le Mans serves as, you know, this high profile like testing platform to demonstrate these massive advancements that we're making, you know, as in the world landscape. And so, like, you have Toyota, for example, who's been at the forefront with their TS050 hybrid, which won race multiple times, right? Being Toyota, I know they've consecutively won like 5 times or something crazy. Not this year or last year, but yeah. And so you have also other manufacturers following suit, which really helps to bring these new technologies, and they also trickle down into road cars, right? Which I think is pretty cool. So talking about hypercar, a more recent development that's exciting, and so they tried to really bring back the development, the excitement, the allure from the early days of the racing, right? Like in IMSA, so you have the revival of the GTP class last year, and trying to bring back this massive excitement from days far bygone, right? And so the 24 Hours of Le Mans is more than just a race, that just like any F1 race or whatever, right? It's this legendary test of endurance and innovation and skill, which has really shaped not only the motorsport world itself, but the automotive world as a whole, basically for nearly a century, right? Going from early days of just highlighting durability and reliability in the 20s to then in the 60s, you have these fierce rivalries, and both of these companies like Ford and Ferrari pushing for these massive technological breakthroughs to do better, which would trickle down. Today, the race really shows and embraces these new sustainability, these new sustainable technologies. Oh my goodness, sorry. And so it remains really a beacon of like excellence and relentless pursuit into doing better and constant improvement. And it offers a glimpse into the future of racing and really the enduring spirit of competition. Whoa, that was a mouthful. So, that wraps up another episode of Countersteer. Hopefully you learned something or two or had something good to listen to. I'm not sure what the next episode will be, whatever rabbit hole I find myself in, I guess. I have been quite into Moslers and things, so that might be it. I don't know. We'll see. Well, I had a nice day, and I hope that you did too, and so I'll catch you later.